Now we have our ceilings in other spots in the building. We now need to put one inside of our master bedroom area, also known as bedroom number one. Now, the reason why I left this one to the side is because I wanted to put a more complex ceiling into this space, something that looks a little bit nicer, and a ceiling that you would usually find in a bedroom like this. In this case, it's going to be a coffered ceiling. In order to draw it in, make sure that you're not in your first floor plan view, but you're inside of your first floor ceiling plan view. So it's going to be the reflected ceiling plan of your first floor. Zoom in on that bedroom area. And it's this box right here, right off of the porch. Now, we're going to place a coffered ceiling in. And what a coffered ceiling does is that it looks like a rectangular shape going around the perimeter of your room with a higher part of the ceiling there in the center. So around this perimeter, we're going to have about an 8-foot tall ceiling. Up in the center, there's going to be a 9-foot tall ceiling. And in order to be able to make up that difference between the two ceilings, where there'd be a gap, you'd be able to look in between the ceilings to see any of your ceiling structure up there. We need to also put in some walls in order to be able to hide that difference. And that'll be our soffit pieces for up there. I'm going to come up to my Home tab and make sure that I click on Ceiling. We'll place into this area an 8-foot tall ceiling off of the first floor. We'll just use the automatic ceiling for right now, and we'll come back and edit it later. Move inside of this space and click the Place a Ceiling. We can already tell it was placed in there. Probably the easiest way to be able to tell that we placed a ceiling in there is the fact that there's no more lines that were right here in this area before. They're getting blocked out by that ceiling structure that we just dropped in. Next, we need to make a modification to the ceiling. One thing you need to be very careful with is if you're still inside the ceiling command, you don't click inside of here again. Click inside of here 1 or 2 or 3 more times trying to select on the ceiling. You'll just be dropping a ceiling after a ceiling after a ceiling in again. I think it's happened to just about everyone who's used Revit at one point or another, and you don't want to be that person on this exercise. So go ahead and hit Escape a few times on your keyboard to make sure that you're out of the command entirely. Move your mouse up until you're touching that wall or any of these walls, and then hit the Tab key on your keyboard. Now, when I say hit the Tab key, what it really refers to is click on it like you're going to place a space in between different words in a sentence. So click, click, click. Eventually, you'll get a box that shows up around your room. That box is going to be the ceiling component. You can see this if you look down in the lower left-hand side of Revit, and it'll say Ceilings, Compound Ceiling, GWB, and you know you've got it at that point. But be very careful on this, because if you move your mouse, you'll just suddenly lose it. So you need to left-click in order to select that ceiling, and now we can make modifications to it. Come up to Edit Boundary. Next, we need to add another boundary on the inside of this. Why? Because this is going to make this part the 8-foot ceiling. Anything on the inside of this will just be a big opening, a hole that we'll be able to fill. We get another ceiling, the 9-foot ceiling. Come up here on the ribbon and go to Pick Lines. Next, set an offset distance, in this case 2 feet. Now pick those lines that are currently going around the perimeter of your building, or the perimeter of your room in this case. Then click and click and click. Once you have 4 lines, come up here and click on the Trim Extend Corner tool. Now just click and click, click and click, and just keep clicking each of the lines that you want to be able to keep. Once you have 2 boxes, one on the inside, one on the outside, you have the kind of ceiling that you're looking to have. Everything in between these lines is going to get filled in with ceiling. Anything on the outside or on the inside is just going to be open air. So go ahead and click on the big plus sign up here in order to finish our perimeter ceiling. Now we need to add another ceiling there in the middle. In order to be able to do that, we need to once again activate the ceiling tool. Instead of 8-foot first floor, we need to make this 9-foot first floor. So the ceiling is going to come in at the 9-foot level. We also need to sketch the ceiling in. So go ahead and click on Sketch, Click on the little rectangle tool up here because it's going to be faster for us. And let's draw a rectangular shape that mirrors that rectangle we had drawn already. Now click on the big plus sign right here. Now we have one ceiling here. Right now it's highlighted in blue that's at the 9-foot mark, and the one out here is at the 8-foot mark. Now we need to draw in our walls that's going to be in between these two ceilings so that you can't see in between them at all your ceiling structure or your roof structure up above. Come up here to your walls. We need to select interior wall 4-inch. The location of finished face is going to be just fine. The base constraint of first floor is correct as well. 8 feet 0.5. That's going to be a wall that's 8 foot off the ground plus the thickness of the ceiling, and that is right. And then we need to set an unconnected height. And in this case, the unconnected height is going to be 11.5. And that's just going to be the height that the one ceiling is above the other one, minus the thickness of the lower ceiling. This is going to be 11.5 inches. You can click on apply to that. And now let's go ahead and start drawing those in. I'm going to click here, move down. You can see those walls, at least the highlight of those walls as I'm placing it and clicking from point to point. I'm going to eventually escape out once I have those walls in all 4 corners. And you can see those as I just move my mouse around, they'll just start to highlight. Or if you click on the perimeter of that ceiling, and by hitting tab, you can just select on it. You can then see through that ceiling to see those walls up above. So by using your ceilings and your wall tools, you can create some really dynamic and good looking ceiling designs.